All right, guys. So this is going to be a useful vlog for anybody into the software development game. It's really a business question, but it has to do with software, and it's an important lesson to learn. So let me just jump into it. I'm going to read the question put to me and the answers, and I'll give you my background here. Hey, Stefan, I'm a YouTube subscriber of yours. I currently am in the digital marketing e-com space, but I'm looking to invest in software and in a software idea of mine. I was wondering if the best move would be to partner with a programmer on the business or just hire a developer for a one-time fee. Thank you. So I answer, if you have lots of money, hire. If you don't, partner. Next lesson. Don't spend money you can't afford to lose. So let me expand upon this, and then I'll get to his response, which is going to give you some illumination into stuff. So why do I say if you have lots of money, hire? If you don't, partner? Well, you take on partners either because you need expertise, or you need money, or you don't have money. And the reason you take on partners, or it's time, that's another factor. I've taken on partner in one of my businesses because I just don't have the time. So I just, we sit down, we discuss the deal, I give him the money, and he puts in his money, and Bob's your uncle, and away we go. It's more of a time thing in that situation. So let me amend that. You take a partner on because you don't have skills, you don't have money, or you don't have time. Those are the three reasons why you take on partners. And you got to be very careful about choosing your partners, because partners are like getting married. And if you get married very quickly, as a lot of people will tell you, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to possibly get in trouble because you don't know this person. It takes a good 15 months to 18 months, 2 years before you really understand who you're partnering with. So when you do choose a partner, be sure that they're well vetted. If they're professional level partners, meaning you're maybe investing in some sort of startup and they got a professional organization and professional investors, that's a whole different game, because when you deal with pros, less emotions, less chance for skullduggery. Anyway, I'm going off on my tangent. So yeah, you want to be very careful about choosing a partner. Lesson number one. Lesson number two, if you do take a partner, always take them on because you need the money, you need the skills, or you don't have the time. All right. So I say, after that, I say, don't spend money you can't afford to lose. What do I mean by that? 80% of businesses fail within the first 3 to 5 years. Actually, the first 2 to 3 years. It could be 85%, it could be 75%. It's in that high range. The main reason most businesses fail is because they run out of money. That's pretty much it. They just don't know how to manage their resources. Money is the lifeblood of any business. So you better have money. You better manage your money. I look at my money first and foremost. I make my business decisions based on the flow of cash. That is why I've been able to be in a pretty good position since I was 32 years old. I could have done it at 30. But anyway, money management is huge. So you got to not go in there and spend your money like a moron. Now, here's the thing. When you first start a business or come up with a business idea, you will think that it's the best idea ever invented. It is the best idea ever invented. You're going to be convinced of it. Why would you not go in business unless you thought the idea had merit, it had legs, it was viable? Why wouldn't you? You wouldn't. You'd be kind of stupid to go into a business that you said, well, this business is probably going to fail, right? That'd be kind of dumb. So we have to look at the business situation and just assume that you're going in the first place because you feel that it's a good business. So the big mistake that people make is that they assume that their assessment of their business idea is accurate. A lot of times it isn't. Even the most successful businesses in the world will have to pivot many times. Pivot means literally change the way the business operates. Could mean change the product, could be change the marketing strategy, it could be change the demographic that you're targeting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll give you some high profile examples. Apple almost went bust in the 90s. And they were able to get it together because Steve Jobs came back into the picture. And then what really launched that company up again, what really made them big, was iPod. Remember, this is Apple computer company literally breaking out with a music player. And what broke them out even bigger? What makes Apple's lion's share of their profits? It's the iPhone. So it's a phone, right? It's not a computer. In fact, their phone business is like 70% or 80% of their profits, something like that. So you can look at the phone business, Apple's phone business, Apple's iPod business. You could look at that as major pivots in the company's product line, right? That's a huge thing to consider. You see it all the time. Companies having to pivot. Like, I'm going to have a friend of mine who's a co-founder of a business. They had to pivot several times in 5 years. They were able to survive until they figured out their business model by managing the inflow of cash. Very important. Everything's down to cash. So when I say don't spend money you can't afford to lose, it's in recognition of what I just told you. I could go on, take my entrepreneur course, my freelance course. I talk about these type of things in more depth, but a little bit of a little tip there. Anyhow, so he comes back to me. He says, thanks, I have X amount of dollars in savings. He tells me the amount. Do you know how much developers charge for projects? So what does this tell you? So I'll just say what he said. He said he has 30,000 in savings. Do you know how much developers charge for projects? This tells me a few things. Number one, he really needs to learn more about development, because that last sentence tells me he really needs a lot of work there. He may know a bit about coding, but he still needs to learn about project development, because that last statement saying, do you know how much developers charge for projects, is like saying, do you know how much a construction company charges to build a building? What kind of building? Is it a single family house? Is it a 20-story building? Is it at the side of a mountain? Is it by the lake? I don't know. Building costs vary tremendously. You can have a piece of software, simple software will cost you $500 to build, or you can have a piece of software that will cost you millions and millions to build. So what I would suggest to this guy, $30K is not a lot of money. It's very little for software development. Like, to build Studio Web, I spent much more than that. And I'm not making fun of this guy. This is good. He's exploring something. He's getting into it. I respect anybody who's willing to try. Most people are not willing to try. He's looking at this. He's looking at that. What I would suggest that you do is, so that you can make better business decisions about your product, is A, learn the basics of software development and coding. I'm not trying to shill my products here, but you learn those fundamentals, you're going to have a much better idea in terms of judging how much a project will cost, how long it's going to take, and even what technologies might be best suited for the type of software that you want to have built. Very important things. A good friend of mine who has a company, they do a few million a year in sales, so pretty good. And he is in the travel business, has nothing to do with technology, although they have a website. The website is the key to their business. And he tells me, and he's told me years ago, he said his little knowledge of HTML and how websites work, and a little touch of CSS, he said, has been one of the most valuable skills that he had in the first few years of his business, because he was able to speak to developers and designers. He understood at least the basics. He was able to make little changes. At least he had an idea of what that whole world was about. So that's why you got to learn a few things. So this last question that he put to me tells me that before you spend money on this idea, I would first learn the basics of coding. Doesn't take long. I've had people go from zero to getting jobs as professionals within 30 days, which I find even fast. Now, I figure 60 to 90 days, you're up and running. That seems a more reasonable number, but several people have said they've done it in 30 days. High-paying jobs, so that's good. So I think it's worth your money and your time to develop some basic skills so that you can make more intelligent business decisions about whatever product you may or may not develop. At the same time, by learning the basics as well, you're going to have a better eye in terms of understanding software, and you're going to be a better judge of the whole market. That's something I remember way back in the day when I was learning how to code for the first time back in the 1990s. Once I learned how to code, once I learned how to write software, I became a better user of software because I understood how the software developers were thinking about designing their products. So I could, strangely enough, I could learn how to use a piece of software much more quickly after I learned how to code because I understood software. I don't know if that makes sense, but trust me, it turns out that way. So there you go. I hope this video is useful to you. Now, this video has uses way beyond business. It's business, it's understanding software, it's understanding critical thinking, it's understanding how things work. Now, if you are somebody who's just looking to work for somebody, you may be saying to yourself, yeah, I never want to start a business, I don't want to freelance, I don't know how useful this is. It's very useful because you understand how business people think. And when you're dealing with business people, the more easily you can communicate with them, the easier your job as a developer will be. And the more valuable you're going to be to prospective employers if you can understand at least some of the considerations that a business person might have to contend with. And of course, it's obvious if you ever want to go freelance or start a business, having this skill set and this broader understanding is super important. One last thing, somebody said, I'd like you to do a dedicated video on politics. The short answer is I will not, because I remember I did a little joke, just a joke on something. I forget what it was. And some people got pretty angry about the joke. And not so much about what the joke was about, but so much they were just kind of ticked off that there was just politics, because they wanted to have a channel, a YouTube channel, that did not deal with politics, because politics drives people nuts, right? Drives people nuts. So I agreed with the guy. I said, you know what, you're right. This is a YouTube, this is a business, freelance, there's coding channels, there's how to get your career up and running, maybe a few other things related, how to manage your mind, your lizard mind. So that's why I don't talk about politics, because even I find if I try to take a center track on certain things, even if you do, the way our lizard brains work, our lizard brain is binary. It doesn't understand nuance for the most part, the lizard. It's zeros and ones. So you're either left or you're right. And you have some people who are in the middle. And I could go into the reasons why that is the case. There's a more nuanced position, but most people don't take it that way. So it's a no-win scenario when you get into politics. And I want to keep this channel clean for everybody, make it easy. There's plenty of channels you can watch with political debate and opinion. And there you go. I'm Canadian as well, so for me to comment on international politics, I consider it kind of rude. So I wouldn't want to comment on U.S. politics or European politics or Southeast Asian politics, etc. Because I'm Canadian. There's an expression up here in Quebec, mets-toi tes affaires. That means mind your own business. So, And there you have it. Let me know what you think of this type of video, by the way. All right, bye-bye.